Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is another top 5 stories video on my channel and I hope you enjoy. And welcome to hashtag Spider-Man Sunday. Today is a bigger Spider-Man Sunday than normal because today, December 2nd last year, I created this YouTube channel. That's right, it's my 1 year anniversary on YouTube. First off, to start a YouTube channel was one of the greatest decisions of my life. I have made so many friends and created some great comic videos for the public doing this. I can't believe how much views and subscribers I have right now in just my first year. I really appreciate all the likes, comments, and subscriptions for my channel. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I can't wait to see how much I continue to grow in the years to come. Because of this, and it being hashtag Spider-Man Sunday, I'm uploading a brand new top 5 stories list, this one about the Sandman. Sandman used to be my favorite Spider-Man villain and my favorite supervillain in comics. I just love his powers. It's like he can do anything shape-shifting with his sand-like body. Sandman has been a villain and hero, which makes him an interesting character to read about, with great stories. Like always, this list won't have issues with team-ups like when he's with the Sinister Six. So let's start talking about him again with my top 5 stories. Number 5, Time Runs Like Sand. A one-shot, Marvel 2-in-1 issue 86, shows us Sandman at a turning point in his life. The issue starts out with telling us the last appearance of Sandman was during the time where Sandman and Hydro Man combined into the Mud Monster. We then see Sandman and Hydro Man escape a canister that was carrying the broken parts of Mud Monster. The two are now finally separated, and Hydro Man decides to leave out on his own, never wanting to see Sandman again. Sandman goes to a bar and the Thing goes to get him, but to Thing's surprise, Sandman decides to go quietly, without a fight. The two sit down at the bar and Sandman starts talking about his past. A lot was like in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Annual 1, like the bullying and his expert football player that got him into straight. Football is something that the Thing can relate with, since football was the thing that got Ben Grimm into college, that meant him meet Reed Richards and become a member of the Fantastic Four. But this is about Sandman, and after school, life goes on for Sandman, and he even gets married while being a criminal. Sandman goes home one day and sees a member of his gang with his girlfriend cheating on him. Sandman lost it after that. Then the accident happens that turns him into the Sandman. After that, the Thing sees that Sandman is not evil. He has the power in him to be a good guy. He gives Sandman the opportunity to start over. To the world right now, the Sandman is dead. This issue marked a turning point in Sandman's life, from villain to hero. Very few supervillains do that, and Sandman is one of the greatest ones that have. And this issue is the one that started that transformation for the character. This story didn't have much action, just Sandman sitting down and telling us his story, but I love seeing everything from his point of view. A lot of good stories with Sandman tell us about his past so we can sympathize with him. This is one of the best ones. Number 4, Sandman Year 1. A one-shot, the last one-shot on this list, this was published in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Annual 1. This story tells us all about the Sandman's past. We see that Sandman grew up with an alcoholic single mom. One day, he and his mom go to the beach and Sandman, whose name is William, makes a grand sandcastle, but the weather ruins it before he can show his mom. After that, William swears he will make something that will be around forever. The story then changes to present day as Sandman narrates this story and is fighting everyone's favorite wall crawler, Spider-Man. The battle is on a beach during a rainstorm. Sandman has never been so threatening in his life. We fast forward a few years and see that William is really good at making sandcastles. He has a small crush on his teacher, but learns that she's married to a rich guy. This turns William into thinking girls want the guys who are rich, especially the pretty girls. After she leaves, some bullies come in and mess up all his sandcastles. William is obsessed with the beach and watches how the sand moves when it comes hit with waves of water. Soon, acting like the sand in the water, he becomes a skilled fighter. The bullies eventually follow him, and the bully group comes together, and William changes his name to Flint. One day, his friend Vic gets in some money trouble and tells Flint to play bad in a football game for him. Flint agrees. It's a man's life compared to some football games. During the game, Flint's coach can tell he's throwing the game, so he decides to kick out Flint and get him suspended. Calls him a nobody, that he will never make a mark on this world. This sets Flint off into brutally attacking his coach, and afterwards, his world starts spinning out of control. Soon, he lost it. He became a criminal, went to jail, and changed his name to reflect him making a mark on this world, Marko. Eventually, he breaks out of prison. Now on the run, the accident mutates his body into complete sand. Now as the Sandman, he can now make a mark on the world. After that, it goes exactly like issue 4, with Spider-Man sucking Sandman up into a vacuum cleaner. But it was a trick so Sandman could bust his father out of prison. That's where the battle picks up, Spider-Man tracking down Sandman after that escape. Actually, really fast. Wolverine first appeared in October 1974, but issue takes place like 10 years before in the timeline. Anyway, so that's the history of the Sandman's past and the story for Annual 1 of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The artwork is stunning. I love the imagination they have with the Sandman's powers here. I just wish that fighting was during much more of the issue. I love reading this character's origin. I would have loved it if it was just a non-comic story even. It's fun to see him compare important parts of his past to sand. Sandman's origin and present fight play off perfectly. Sandman's mission is killing Spider-Man now, an accomplishment that will last forever if completed. Number 3. Cracked Hourglass. Published just 2 months ago from this video, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man issues 308 and 309 have one of the saddest Spider-Man stories and one of the greatest Spider-Man rogue stories of all time. The Sandman isn't bad, he's just made that way. Sometimes he's even good, now he's soon not be anything. He went to genius villains like Wizard and the Mad Thinker, but they can't help him, Sandman is falling apart. At the same time, there's a Sandman from a different dimension that's all glass now, who's seeing the real Sandman on this Earth die. Spider-Man takes Sandman to his special favorite beach, where he will die. They have a nice conversation. Eventually, Sandman can't hold himself together anymore, and dies. The next issue starts with the Sandman from a different dimension mixing with the Sandman's dead sand particles, keeping Sandman alive, but being able to control his sand body. Now, the future dimension Sandman can live. And now Spider-Man must stop this future Sandman from controlling Flint Marko's Sandman body anymore. The first half was one of the saddest Spider-Man stories ever, but the next half is very different. This scene I really like. Sandman has never been evil, he's a reasonable guy. He tells Spider-Man not to reveal his true identity, because he's always just been Spider-Man to him. The second part definitely changes tones, and Spider-Man even teams up with the Human Torch to help Flint. The one bad thing, the really bad thing, is the art doesn't really work. It may just be me, but I don't like it. That single grain of sand that stores the man's consciousness sure is special, and now Sandman's mind truly lives eternally. At the end, both Sandmen will live forever, the glass future dimension one wishing for death, and Flint Marko wondering what to do next. Is this a definitive Sandman story? No, but it is one of the greatest. After this issue, the Sandman is changed forever. Number 2. The Bridge. A 3-issue story in Webspinner's Tales of Spider-Man, issues 7 through 9, this story showed us Sandman at the would-be end of his supervillain career. Sandman is at the top of his game, out of jail, has a lot of money, and no one can stop him, but that's not enough for him, so he decides to change some things about himself. At this time in Spider-Man's life, he isn't having the best time, everyone hates him, and nothing seems to go right for him. We then cut to Sandman robbing another bank, this time seeing what he can do to become more important, like changing his name. Then we have Spider-Man show up. The two have a classic back and forth banter, and the art I find really fun, just like a classic black and white comic, looking like it just came to living color in front of me. Peter Parker then decides he's tired of this battle and throws some experimental chemicals on Sandman to stop the fight sooner. That night at Rikers Island, the Sandman is in his cell and is literally falling apart, thanks to the chemicals Spider-Man threw on him. Now Sandman is back, wanting revenge for what Spider-Man has permanently done to him. A big theme of this story is not being a loser and being a somebody. That is Sandman's end goal. At the end, Sandman has lost all sense of present and just walks around without a real brain, as he's falling apart. He doesn't do anything harmful, so that's good. I think if Sandman was truly an evil supervillain, he would be hurting people like this, but he's not. Sandman dying reminds me of when Venom took a bite out of him, too. At the end, when Spider-Man makes a mixture that saves Sandman's life, Sandman seems nicer, telling Spider-Man that Spider-Man's the nicest person ever to him. At the end, Sandman decides to not continue trying to change himself. He's happy with just being a criminal, and leaves Spider-Man to be without a fight. This is number 2 because it's not just a great Sandman story, but also it is a really good Spider-Man / Peter Parker story. One of the greatest Sandman stories, I love all the past history and Spider-Man mythos in this story, with Spider-Man realizing the responsibility in everything he does and what happens now if he ignores it, and I also love the creativity they have with Sandman's powers and the way Sandman thinks about himself. And now, for the greatest Sandman story of all time, number 1, Sandblasted. This story was written across 3 parts of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, issues 17 through 19. This story starts with Sandman breaking into prison to see his father. We learn his dad is about to be executed, but he's innocent. He didn't kill a homeless man, but he confessed to it for some reason. Sandman fails in breaking his dad out of prison the first time, though. Sandman decides to go to Peter Parker for help and save his father. At this time in comics, Peter Parker reveals his identity as Spider-Man to the world and is hiding from the police, staying at Flash Thompson's house. While arguing about not wanting to do this, Peter shows Sandman a picture of his aunt and uncle. Sandman's shocked, tells him that his uncle is the one the DA, he said, was killed by his father. I really love the interactions between Sandman and Spider-Man in this story as they go on a mission. It's really fun, and you definitely see the insides characters of both of these guys. There's a nice scene where Peter and Flint bond over being public known outlaws while looking at Ben Parker's grave. Thanks to Spider-Man 2211's helmet, they track down the real murderer, who is still on the loose. Spider-Man and Sandman find out the real murderer was the Midtown High School principal, who is really a future chameleon from the year 2211. It's revealed that an Uncle Ben from a different timeline was really murdered. Floyd Baker was really there at just the wrong time, and the DA office basically forced him to confess. Thanks to the Spider-Man 2211 helmet, the Chameleon and Baker switch places, and Chameleon 2211 gets the chair. This is Sandman at his prime. It has a lot of history revolving around Sandman, and I love how it connects to the Spider-Man storyline that was going on at the time. We learn more about Sandman's hopes and dreams, also like how he wishes his father was proud of him. I love issues where the hero and the villain team up, and this has to be the best one when it comes to Spider-Man and a rogue from his rogues gallery. The back and forth banter between the two is really fun to read. The art and imagination with Sandman and his powers are never before seen with this issue. I love Spider-Man in his black suit, and of course, Sandman. This issue even gives a direct reference to Friendly Neighborhood Annual 1. This story gives me some Spider-Man 3 vibes. Within the movie, it was Sandman who killed Uncle Ben instead of his dad. Man, I love this issue. It has everything a great Sandman story should have, and is during one of the most interesting times in Peter Parker's life. So those were the top 5 stories about the Sandman. If you've been keeping track, that means I have listed the top 5 best stories of every member of the original Sinister Six. I didn't include a Sinister Six story, so I could make a top 5 best Sinister Six story list. I don't know when that will be, but it will happen. I hope you enjoyed. The first year on YouTube has been great. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys, and have a good day.